camera. Yeah. Alright. Well, okay. I'll let you know what it is. I'll click on it.
Did you get a chance to do that, Helen? Sorry, everyone, I know this beginning part's pretty boring. You have the rule that allows video chat now? Okay, give it a shot.
Alright. Let's see here. Mute.
Yeah, try that. If you go back into the waiting room and I'll pull you back in.
So close the program or leave the waiting room?
Oh wait, we left. Oh wait, okay, now it's back in. Alright, what are we trying now?
I clicked on the button that says turn on camera.
Yeah.
Maybe you go into my Discord settings and set up the camera?
Maybe, we probably have to select the camera, yes.
Okay. User settings. Voice and video. Wait a second, create test video. Looks like my webcam's working. It's on integrated camera. Should work.
Strange. Well, if I have to, we can switch to a different program. Not a big deal. Alright, what did you want to use instead?
I'm okay whenever we can do video like Google Hangouts or Zoom.
Okay, I'll send you a Zoom link. How do you go?
Alright, open it.
That's always annoying. Sorry, everyone. I promise the conversation will be interesting once we actually get to it. I'm just going to sign into Zoom. It's way too zoomed in. I don't like that. Decline. Add you to the call. Invite. Email. Peter. And there's a link. Hopefully he'll join here in a sec. We're on a level 4, working on a level 4 hype train, by the way. Thank you everyone who's doing bits and stuff. I'm just very busy, so I can't do it yet. It just doesn't work, we'll just do a Google Hangout like we did last time, and then we'll hopefully be quick. Okay, you can share screen on Zoom too. Heyo, hold on, let me figure out a way to get us both. There we go.
Can you see me?
I can, Peter.
Oi. Essa. Há aí um autocolante doado que é tipo RAL 7000 ou 6000, ou que é tipo de unidade automática. Estás a ver o autocolante que está doado? É isso, mas diz, eu se fosse a ti até fotografava mesmo com o telemóvel essa referência. Essa referência e essa tinta, mix, ou que é isso. Pá, compra 5 litros porque fica para o Apaduro, fica para retoques. Aquele cano que está no teto também vou pintá-lo. Vou prendê-lo ao teto, temos eletricidade lá em cima e vou pintá-lo. Portanto, podes comprar 5 litros também. Então, tchau.
I can rate you. We can start. I think you're screwing with each other on this too. Oh my gosh! I think you're in the real White House. I know, right? Actually, no. This is. I'm at Castle Rock Studios. This there you go. It's very clear now. I convinced you. I can see the truck behind where the road is. It's actually there's a place. Oh, it's a place that has a big empty Castle Rock. Right here. How have you been? I'm good. A little sleep deprived, but actually I was looking forward to talking to you because I really do enjoy talking to you. I enjoy talking to you as well here. So yeah, your wife had your newest kid a couple days ago. How's that going? You guys doing well? Healthy, everything's going good. Are you streaming on Twitch by any chance? I am, yes. Okay, I'll look that up. I want to see what's in the comments too, but yeah, everything's good. Yeah, be nice to Peter, okay? You know, honestly, I don't throw this out in the comments sometimes on my videos. I'm like, Anna doesn't hate me. Why do you guys throw me so much hate? I generally, for the people listening, I like Anna. I like her videos. She's one of my favorite Democrats. I love the answer. I think Anna is a genuinely good person. And we're not enemies. We disagree on some things, but we're not enemies. There's no reason for white people or your people to, hate on each other. We just disagree on stuff. Yeah. 1 second. I think I have to give you permissions to share screen, so I'm going to do that right now. Please, if you want to share anything, 1 second.
Sim. Compras o quê? Sim. Sim. De uma ponta à outra. Estás a ver? Tipo, as faixas encaixadas têm que dar a volta, têm que dar pelo menos uns 9 metros. Sim, a questão é termos só o comprimento suficiente para 9 metros, imagina. Se a placa tem 1,20 m, precisamos de 8 placas. Ou 7. Faz as contas. Eu não me quero armar em terras. Sim, já não vai partir tanto como poderia. Depois temos é combinar com o Rocha. Ok. Ela ficou gira e agora eu vou já dar o verniz nessa para não se estragar. Porque a moto já em cima e tal, e para não se estragar. Vai fazer uma camada por cima e vai dar um bocadinho de brilho, mas isso é preciso para limparmos e para não se desfazer. Mas vai continuar a fazer ao crescimento, porque é a altura dela, porque ela é alta, a altura é que vai fazer esse crescimento. E depois eu faço os arranjos finais quando tiver tudo posto também, nos cantos. E a gasolina, como a gasolina estava a funcionar para o papel, mas normalmente qualquer graxa dá. Uma graxa, tipo de sapatos. Não? Não sei se temos aí, mas podes comprar uma graxa de sapatos normal. Há umas que vêm que são tipo, como direi, é uma esponja comprida, tem um formato quase de sapato. Não sei se já viste. Essas são poeiras. Pronto, essas são poeiras porque para espalhar é bom. Para espalhar não se faz. Ok. Tchau. Diz. Diz. Eu tenho já um orçamento de molduras. Tenho que ver os desenhos e já há molduras feitas. Eu acho que na altura pedimos bastante, acho que pedimos 600, por aí. Ok, está bem. Não, temos que, neste caso do Garantia Cultura, temos que apresentar recibos. Pronto, é só isso. Mas espera aí, a questão é, se eles controlam, tu não podes passar algo assim, qualquer coisa podes passar, em vez de molduras, sei lá, grátis, a dizer que decidiste engradar, em vez de emoldurar. Mas tem que ser qualquer coisa do estilo, tens que justificar com aquela despesa em particular. Sim, a VGA não controla nada. Sim. Sim, e isso há recibo verde, isso passamos recibo verde. Com o apoio deles. Tens que passar isso tudo por eles. Não. Opa, é assim, só se é muito diferente para instituições ou para particulares. O contrato que eu li, tens que avisá-los com antecedência de tudo. E se faltar alguma coisa, eles chateiam-te, e se tu não respondes ao que te falta, cortam-te. Eu pá, uhum. Não, isso existe. E é nesse relatório que estás a entregar faturas e tudo mais. Mas as alterações é que eu estava a dizer que eles dizem lá para teres de dizer, e há um contacto para dizê-las, e tens de aparecer. Eles podem dizer que, imagina, queres, com isto tudo, queres adiar a exposição um mês. Tudo bem. Convém avisá-los já, porque senão eles podem pegar por aí. Porque, vi um contrato, eu não tenho aqui, estou a pintar. Vê o contrato, há lá um contrato e mandas. Porque provavelmente eles não leem, porque eu mandei lá umas dúvidas como preencher o recibo e nunca me responderam. Mas ficas protegido. Não, mas a questão não é essa. A questão é, ao enviares o contacto, estás protegido. Ainda não? Ok. Então sim, eu também só me preocupei em respeitar as regras quando recebi dinheiro. E mesmo assim, parte do dinheiro é para o computador e eu ainda estou a usar o computador antigo porque eu não consegui dedicar tempo a fazer o computador que estava previsto. Vai. Então.
Peter, I can't hear you very well away from the microphone, so I can't understand you. Alright, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I have an interesting theory about you.
You do? Okay, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think you're gonna like it. Scott, open up the comment section first and see what they think of my theory.
Oh God, okay. This is interesting.
Yeah, I think you're gonna think it's crazy, but I think there's like a 90% chance it's gonna happen.
Have you figured out I'm a reptilian? Because that one's definitely true.
I considered it, but no. I don't think a reptilian would mess with me like this.
Really? How would a reptilian mess with you? Just out of curiosity. Because you say not like this, meaning they might mess with you, but just not in this modality.
Maybe that way?
What?
You didn't watch my alien video? Come on, Hannah. Your job is to watch all my videos.
I know. I watched all your videos. I just don't. Which one are you talking about? I know you talked about aliens and you talked about Trump being an alien puppet.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about. But
there we go. Which Hannah. So my theory about you. Oh, we gotta mute this. Oh no. Can you hear that?
no.
Alright, there we go. So my theory about you, Hannah, is you're gonna join me on the right side.
Really? Okay, so your theory is you're going to be so convincing that I decide that, in fact, yes, aliens are controlling Earth and are helping Trump return to the presidency.
I think so much of what I'm saying is going to turn out to be correct that eventually you're going to be like, oh my gosh, guys, this guy I used to make fun of, I'm actually going to start making videos about how awesome he is and how correct he is and how wrong I was. I have a theory that might happen.
And what if the opposite happens? What if none of the things you're predicting or Mike Lindell is predicting come true in the next year? Are you going to start making videos about how I'm correct?
If that's the case, I will.
You will? Okay, what's the date on it? Because I think we already had the last time we talked, some sort of wager where you have to buy me one of those sweet bullet crowns if something doesn't happen by such and such date. I don't remember what the date was. It might have already gone by. I don't know. The goalposts keep moving. It's hard to keep track of.
We have to rewatch our chat and find out what the deal is. But we can make another deal. Like, if Biden does his full term, then you get a dare me to do whatever you want. And if Biden doesn't serve his full term, then Biden and Harris, because we all know Biden's.
I was going to say Biden and Harris because Biden's old as shit and he can die any day.
Yeah, so you admit that his mental health isn't like as good as Harris. Like Kamala Harris, she's very shy.
I think both him and Trump are too old and shouldn't be the president.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would prefer to have a younger president. Like, you know what? I was a Bernie bro. I voted for Bernie.
You did.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you about socialism because I think we may have a lot more in common when it comes to socialism than actually disagree, depending on how you define socialism. Because there's a lot about socialism that I like.
Okay.
I'm not sure how you define it. I was like blasting you, attacking you for liking it, and then I'll think back like, I actually like a lot of socialist ideas.
Sure.
So maybe we're on the same page.
On the whole, I think people should have access to healthcare that they need, and not have to go bankrupt because of it. Medical bankruptcies in this country are out of control. So I'm in favor of universal healthcare, stuff like that. Although we're gonna differ on that. You think?
No, I agree.
No. I just think I think medicine is medicine, and you think weed is all medicine. You think weed cures everything.
Well, there you go. Well, to be specific, it cures all diseases, but it won't solve a health problem.
See, that's the thing, though. It doesn't, though. It doesn't cure all diseases.
We'll find out. The truth comes out.
What about all the people who have cancer or whatever who smoke weed for it?
Okay.
And they die anyway.
Great question. So I say cannabis can cure diseases based on a specific thing called the Rick Simpson protocol, which some of your viewers might know. It's a protocol where you eat organic cannabis. It doesn't have to be organic, but ideally organic cannabis, concentrate a large amount over a short period of time. And if you do that, you can cure disease. I'm talking about 1 to 3 pounds or 100 to 150 grams of decarboxylated cannabis, like a gram but that's not enough medicine to cure disease. But if you're bombarding your body with medicines, now that's totally different than smoking. Smoking will never cure anything. It'll help with symptoms maybe, but
what data do you have that leads you to believe that this protocol will cure any disease? Because there's no evidence to that effect.
Google Rick Simpson, all the people who have been cured of cancer with Rick Simpson oil. I'm sure your viewers are
correlation isn't causation, though. That's why we have like studies that get done and things get approved by the FDA.
Why would pharmaceutical industry spend $1 billion doing a study to prove cannabis cures cancer and then bankrupt an industry that's worth $1 trillion annually worldwide?
You could literally say that about any medicine for anything then.
Well, that's the thing. The thing with cannabis is it's attacked and they say gives you cancer and it makes you dumb and, lowers your testosterone and all these things because...
I mean, those things to an extent are evidence, though. I don't think it necessarily makes you stupid, but it's your reaction time is way down, your critical thinking skills aren't as good. I know this. I've done the dank weed, Peter.
Okay. So, here's the thing. On that, everything is not black and white. For example, if you are taking more than you normally take, like you smoke a ton, yeah, for sure, there's like some type of hand-eye coordination goes down, your language turns to salad, you can't talk properly, your memory's not that good. But if you build up a tolerance and then take the same amount you took yesterday, they actually did do a scientific study on this, at least with driving, and they found that as long as you have a tolerance, you can consume normally high amounts, your driving skills, for example, are actually good on cannabis.
I can't agree with you. I don't think impaired driving is ever good. I would recommend you not drive while high, Peter. CBD is a different thing. If you you're admitting to criminal acts on camera. I don't think that's the best idea.
It's not public. Oh no. Are you gonna report me?
I'm not, but this is the internet, so
okay. It's okay. The point is,
have you ever driven while high with your children in the car?
That's classified information.
Oh, okay. That's yes, right. We're gonna walk past that chat. Do with that information what you will.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, you go. Go
okay,
for it.
So let me tell you my conspiracy theory about you. And by the way, I have also a theory about my conspiracy theories. Maybe it's the cannabis, right?
I have a feeling it is a factor, probably.
I'm getting very paranoid, and I think there's a deep state cabal Illuminati that's currently trying to populate the world by 7 billion people.
Yeah, that'd be a conspiracy theory.
You think that could be the marijuana? Make you paranoid?
I think it's probably a factor.
What about you? You consume it. You're not paranoid about any of these things. Why doesn't that make you paranoid?
I'm on a pretty big break from it until I move, which is coming up here soon.
The bad for you.
But when I did do it regularly, sometimes it would lead to like anxiety and paranoia. That happens to some people, as I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially if I overindulge. And if I was on it for a long periods of time, continually, like if I was doing it every day, it would certainly lead me to be more anxious and prone to paranoid thoughts, like hearing a police siren in the distance, being like, is that for me? Even if it doesn't really make logical sense, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that if you consume a certain amount of cannabis, especially with the THC, it can cause anxiety, paranoia. And I've seen people who, they get very high and then they're like, oh no, they're out to get me and stuff like that. Totally real. But on a serious note, cannabis does decalcify, especially if it's vaporized or eaten. It decalcifies your pineal gland.
Pineal gland. You say pineal gland very strangely. I just want to point out it's usually pineal gland, I think.
I have a weird accent. You can correct me if I
have a weird accent.
I grew up in Panama, so some people say my language and my accent is weird. I grew up speaking English and Spanish, so my English is like people call it juvenile English or something like that, or accent. But anyway, it decalcifies your pineal gland.
Source. I would request why you believe that.
Okay, well, based on my research, it decalcifies your pineal gland, and then that increases your intuitive abilities, and then now you can see that these conspiracy theories are actually facts.
So, okay, but again, that's a claim. I'm asking for a source, not a more elaborated claim. Why do you believe that that's the case?
This source thing is going to get very boring. I'm going to say, here's my source, you're going to say, that's fake news. And you say, here's my source, and I'm going to say, that's fake news. The source is just going to get boring. But I'll tell you,
why would your pineal gland be calcified in the first place? What is just calcifying your pineal gland. And what do you think the pineal gland does?
The deep snake cabal has been attacking our pineal gland and calcifying it, and by pushing things that calcify it. For example, GMOs calcify it, sugar does, caffeine does, alcohol does. That's why these things are pushed so hard, because when you're calcified, now you're acting a little bit more robotic, your intuition level goes down, you're more likely to trust government sources as being correct. But once you eat organic, I eat a 100% organic diet. I try to stay away from sugar, but I'm addicted to it, and I, decalcify my pineal gland, and as a result, I can see through, and then the authority figures on lying and stuff like that. Take, for example, the vaccine, right? They say, you got to take this vaccine because the coronavirus is so dangerous, but based on what I'm seeing, I'm going to make a prediction that vaccines are going to kill hundreds of millions of people. And initially,
I had the vaccine. I had it like a month and a half ago. I'm good.
And honestly, I was a little bit worried. Actually, I'm pretty worried about you, Hannah.
Well, I appreciate it, sir.
No, and I'm not even joking. I am a little bit worried about you because I saw that you got the mark of the beast, and that's actually a funny joke. I'd be pretty disappointed. But these vaccines are not the same. They modify your DNA.
They don't know. That's not what they do. It's an mRNA vaccine. mRNA is not the same thing as DNA, right?
I don't know that. It modifies your DNA.
No, it doesn't. It does not change your DNA.
You hear about the spike proteins? Suddenly, I'll send you a link. The first autopsy was done of a vaccinated person. They found that there were spike proteins on almost every single organ in their body. And you don't listen to how many people are infertile vaccine.
Again, I saw the video where you made this claim, and it was literally based off a Telegram. Because the app you use called Telegram, I always forget. Telegram or Telegram? Correct. Telegram. It was a post from Telegram and an image of someone saying that they had a friend who claimed a thing. You understand that that's like a fourth-hand nonsense source, right?
I think that how you define a quality source is different than how I would define it. For example,
how do you define a quality source? How do you look at
it very carefully? By me, in the case of Majestic 12, I ran all 14,000 tweets by Majestic 12. So when they say that cannabis decalcifies my pineal gland, and that's my source for that example, I believe that they're a vetted source. I put 2 years into vetting Majestic 12.
So by vetting, you mean they say things you agree with, and therefore you determine that they're trustworthy because they say things that make you feel good.
More like they've been able to predict the future, and they've
also predicted.
Well, one of the things they predicted is that they were going to, on the July 4th flyover that Trump did with all those stuff, they said, we're going to fly over in our spaceships. Because remember, Majestic 12, your viewers don't know, they're interdimensional aliens.
Oh, they're interdimensional. See, we watched the video about the aliens, but I didn't say interdimensional. I thought they were extra.
Yeah, it's very important.
Not extra-dimensional. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they from the 5th or the 6th, or are we talking higher? Are they from, like, the 12th dimension?
I'm not sure. I think it might be the 7th, but what interdimensional alien means.
The 7th one is like the best one.
Is that your favorite one?
Yeah.
Interdimensional alien means that they can enter a human body that already has a host, or they can enter their own body, or do both at the same time. So they are above body. They don't need a body, but they can enter a body. And so Majestic 12 is a group of interdimensional aliens that are working with Trump. And to answer your thing about Trump being an alien puppet, I didn't watch that video yet, but I hope you clarify that my theory, it's not really a theory, it's a fact, is that he is being puppeted by interdimensional aliens, but Trump's not an alien that I know of. Who knows?
I know you didn't claim Trump himself as an alien. He's working with an alien. You're probably thinking because the thumbnail of him is the alien. That was just like, it's a thumbnail thing.
Okay, for sure.
In the video, I do not claim that you think Trump's an alien because
I appreciate it. You got to get my crazy conspiracy theories accurately. So I can make 6 predictions for you that once your audience sees how many of these turn out to be correct, they might actually join my channel and enjoy the content. I think you might be turned around as well. Okay. Prediction number 1: hundreds of millions of people are going to regret getting the vaccine. Prediction number 1:
Okay.
Hundreds of millions of people would die from the vaccines. Number two, it's already coming out that the coronavirus, there actually is no evidence that it exists. This is coming out.
No. That's untrue. Let me clarify. I have to clarify this for YouTube, for the record, because
Go ahead.
that's untrue. That's an untrue statement. I do not endorse that statement. The coronavirus is real. Okay?
Okay.
Yes. Go get vaccinated, please.
Yes. I don't want to mess you up on your YouTube channel.
For the record, that's also what I believe.
I know.
I gotta preempt
For sure. No, verified. So you don't have to mess up with all the editing. I think if there's a back and forth, then it's okay on YouTube. But the CDC, some people are suing the CDC and saying, we're going to sue you. We're suing you right now. You better provide evidence that COVID exists. And they're saying we've never isolated using the gold standard.
They have isolated the coronavirus. And anyone can sue anyone for anything.
All right, well, right now the CDC has been sued because all these viruses, the H1N1, the Zika virus, all these scares, none of them have been actually isolated. They never
That's false.
been proven to exist.
You're
I understand you believe that. But it's going to come out. That's my third prediction. It's going to come out that it was all fear. They never existed. All these deaths were flu deaths. And also, like, for example, with the hospitals, you have people who died from a heart attack, and then the hospital says, oh, they died from the coronavirus because they were faint of breath, and that's the coronavirus.
That's untrue. Do you understand the concept of comorbidity?
Go ahead and explain it. I'd like to hear it.
Okay, so you don't know what comorbidity is. So a comorbidity factor means you can have one pre-existing condition or multiple pre-existing conditions, and then a new factor comes in and causes your death in combination with the comorbidity factor. So let's say you have asthma, and then you catch coronavirus, which already deals with your lungs. You are already at a disadvantage because you had lung issues in the first place, so it affects you more. The coronavirus is still the cause of death, along with the comorbidity of your previous lung issues. This is why it's so bad on the elderly, because the elderly have a lot of comorbidities. Their bodies are in worse shape in general.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I completely agree with you, but my point I'm making is that hospitals, the way that these coronavirus bills are set up, they were getting paid to say this person died from the coronavirus. I think it was like $8,000 that they died of the coronavirus.
Listen,
and these hospitals went bankrupt because a lot of them. Hold on, let me finish. I know you disagree with me, but the way that these coronavirus bills were set up was, if you put someone on a ventilator, you would get the hospital would get $40,000, I think, per person, and then if they died of the coronavirus,
you have a
would
source
get
for that
$8,000. Just look at the bill. There's all these.
Show me the bill. You're the one making the claim. You can't just say stuff and then be like, "Go do your own research. Back up your own claim."
Go listen to the Joe Rogan talk with Elon Musk. Talks all about it. All right, but anyway, the source stuff is.
So I actually have a stoner bro that lives down the street from me. I could probably just go talk to him, and he'd have as much validity as Joe fucking Rogan.
Anyway, I think Joe Rogan is pretty smart, but Elon Musk explained to him how the hospitals and your viewers do researching. Hospitals do get paid for saying someone died from the coronavirus, and so as a result, all these deaths are flu deaths or coronavirus deaths. It's actually someone dying from a heart attack. Like the other day,
why are the death counts so much higher in 2020 and 2021 than they are in a typical year? Because if you look at the average deaths in a year, comparatively, we have however many extra deaths that are roughly the same number as the number of coronavirus deaths. It's not like we have the same number of deaths that we normally have, and some are just getting ascribed. We have extra. We have like over 500,000 extra deaths than we normally have.
Well, and initially for several months, the CDC was the information they're putting out actually proved that there was no increase. Actually, there was a decrease in deaths or overall in the United States of all causes. And then when that was pointed out, and everyone's like, see, there was no.
That probably happened over the first month or so because people aren't driving around as much. This number of deaths in the United States, auto accidents and being outside the home.
This wasn't like a month in. This was like 8 months in when there was supposed to be like 300,000 deaths or something at that point. And basically these deaths are all flu deaths or just.
No, they're not, though. Peter, they're not. My friend Randy is a doctor who works at a hospital. No, you're wrong.
We can agree to disagree with. Honestly, saying someone's a doctor to me is like, oh God, that's like one of the least trustworthy people. I have no trust in. I know there are people who do, but me, I'm like,
you trust people like pillow salesmen. That's who you trust. By the way, how's Frank's speech going? I see.
Oh man,
disaster. What a great social media platform that no one can post to except for people he pre-approves.
Oh man, that is. I'm pretty upset with Mike Liddell. I kind of want to send my pillow back to him. But yeah, that was.
If I can recommend, I got a purple pillow recently. Very good. Yeah. I'd recommend it. And also, Purple Pillow has never been affiliated with trying to take over the United States government via insurrection attempt. So I have a lot of positive things to say about the Purple Pillow.
Okay. All serious aside, is it actually a good pillow? Because Mike Liddell one, I wasn't a big fan of it.
They're a little expensive. Like not my pillow. The pillow I got, the Purple Pillow, was like $160, but it's a great pillow.
Holy moly! My pillow is $30. Maybe I need to upgrade to something.
That's probably why my pillow sucks dick.
Honestly, I wasn't very impressed with it. I know I'm very sensitive and stuff like that, but let me continue our predictions.
Sure.
What's going to happen is the audits are going to prove that Trump won by a landslide.
Wasn't the one supposed to be done on the 14th on Trump's birthday? What happened with that?
Great question. I misinterpreted. These finished counting, but that doesn't mean anything because now they have to recount, and then there have to be the forensic audits out of it, which means they have to check every crevice. They have to check the watermark. Did you know that there's watermarks on these ballots?
But there isn't, though. The state actually came out and said that's not a thing, and they shouldn't waste their time looking for it because it doesn't exist.
So why were they using blue lights on the forensic audit and checking everything under blue light?
Because cyber-gamers are idiots, and then the state had to come in and be like, hey, that's not a thing. Don't waste your time. There is no watermark.
Yeah, well, see, that's the propaganda machine. See, Trump put in the watermarks without the Democrats knowing.
The federal government doesn't print the ballots. The states do.
One way or another, there was a bunch of fake ballots that...
Foi. 5. Sim, opa, porque a gente vai sempre ter que dar retoques em coisas. Isso eu não percebi o que é que o Timóteo queria. Eles têm os salários, mas o cinzento tipo o teto não ficava mal, tipo o cinzento mesmo quando não ficava mal. Dizes que é um cinzento clássico, sim. Eles depois mostram-te um ao outro. Eles têm umas coisas. Sim, e isso deve. As latas devem ser de 75 cilindros, mas basta tipo 2 latas de 75. Não, vais mandar fazer, porque eles não têm esses cinzentos. As latas são menores do que 2 litros, mas sim. As latas são de 75 cilindros, portanto vai ser tipo 8,5. 2 latas dá. São de litro? Está bem, ok. Tinta plástica talvez seja de litro. Mas sim, 2, seja de 65 ou de litro dá. Vejam.
China printed, but the one that's...
they were looking for like bamboo fibers on the papers?
I didn't hear...
Do you find that a little racist? Because I find that a little racist.
I don't know how that's racist, but they're bamboo. Why? Because that's Asian? How is that racist?
Because they assume that if you printed ballots in China, they're going to have bamboo on them, because obviously all Chinese people walk around with loose bamboo in their pockets or something.
Okay. So the audience is going to prove that Joe Biden won by a landslide. Even people like you will be.
You know what? Yes, Joe Biden did win by a landslide. I agree.
Oh, sorry, that's it. Trump won by a landslide. Oh man, you messed me up, Hannah. I'm blaming that one on you. That Trump won by landslide, and then the military's going to come in, take over the government, and at some point this year,
you're advocating for a violent military takeover of the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to talk to you about that because to be crystal clear, I like Democrats.
You just want to kill the ones you disagree with.
No. I personally don't want to harm anyone.
You want the military to come and do the dirty work for you because you're too much of a coward to actually attack people. Not that you should, but like, you want to kill people, you just don't have the gumption to do it yourself.
Honestly, I'm a little bit of a, I don't think if someone came to my door and harmed my family, like, I would struggle to want to go. I am not, if you read my book, Cannabis Paradise, you only read the most cringy, boring part that I'm embarrassed about. But if you read it, it's a book about peace and avoiding killing people. In the book, I was against the death penalty.
So what happened?
Well, Trump came in and was like, dude, these people are trying to depopulate by 7 billion people. Let's put him in a military tribunal and there's justice.
First of all, Trump didn't say that. That's you're interpreting that from various QAnon Q sources. I know you don't like when people say QAnon, and I know that.
No, it's okay.
Colloquially, that's what it's called.
So yeah, here's where you and I agree. We're both good people, that's for sure. I'll let you speak on my behalf however you want. I think you're a good person, and I think when you find out that right now the Cabal Deep State is trying to kill over 7 billion people and reduce the population to 500 million, all those people who were trying to do it and that actually ended up killing hundreds of millions of people, you want their go to the court and you want them to get the death sentence.
I don't think it's the death penalty, so no.
You know, okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, I actually didn't believe in the death penalty until I found out that the purpose of the death penalty is that a lot of these evil people are possessed by demons. And in some cases, you can do certain things like pray or go to church, whatever.
So you think that these people are demonically possessed and not being controlled their own actions?
Yes.
So you want to punish them for the actions of demons that have possessed them?
Well, actually, it's a little more complicated than that. Some people are so possessed with demons, for example, Hillary Clinton.
Let me guess, you think the only way to free them of their demon possession is to end their life?
Correct.
So you have come up with a way in your mind to not only justify the killing of people that you disagree politically, but make you believe that you are doing them a favor by doing so. That is an amazing level of mental gymnastics.
I personally don't want to kill anyone. I'm a pacifist.
You're a pacifist. You just want the military to come in and kill people.
If the military comes in and it finds out through a legal court and everything's unfair, that these people were trying to kill billions of people.
Who decides if it's done fairly?
The military tribunals. A lot of this is being done in Guantanamo Bay, but even through courts that.
Why do you trust the military to do this if they're willing to do a military coup? Why do you assume the military is righteous in this hypothetical scenario?
Listen, stealing the election is the coup. Trump's just putting himself back.
Why do you think the election was stolen?
You're going to find out in the next few months. All you and your viewers
Tell me now. Tell me now.
Are you worried about the audits at all?
No, I am not.
Okay, so what happens if all these audits come out and there's massive cheating and King Trump won by landslide? How's that going to make you feel?
If it was verified by outside sources that aren't QAnon hacks like cyber ninjas and the various people attached to that,
like 95% of people believe it, and it's verified by tons of trustworthy people.
If it were actually evidenced, and I saw the evidence and agreed with it, then everyone involved would have to be criminally prosecuted, but you would need evidence of those things.
Okay, that's all I'm for. To be clear, I don't want to kill anyone, but I do think that if someone commits treason and they go to court and the court says this person committed treason, they need to get a death penalty.
Treason requires working with a foreign enemy during wartime. I think you're thinking of some.
Well, they're working with China to steal the election, and
why do you think
Chinese puppet it? That is actually treason. They are working with a foreign enemy, China.
Why do you think that?
Well, you just look at like Mike Lindell's, for example.
He's a pillow salesman. You're talking about a pillow salesman.
He has
a former drug addict pillow salesman.
Look, Hannah, you're a great debater. I agree with you on a lot of things.
I am a master debater. I'll have you know that. I'm master all the time.
You are, I'll give you that. You are a good debater. But just let me finish my thought because you are a better debater than me. And you didn't give me.
Well, I gotta check your claims, otherwise you're gonna gish gallop me with a whole bunch of nonsense. I gotta make sure that we're breaking up your claims.
Let me explain my claim and then you can destroy it. If you watch, for example, Michael Lindell's recent documentary called Absolutely 9-0, he proves after checking very carefully the Dominion machines that what happened was China and other countries actually switched votes to Biden.
They didn't know.
He proved it. If you watch the documentary.
He didn't know.
Okay, well, that's the thing. It's all going to come out eventually. You know, my source is Mike Lindell. You know,
why did you trust him?
I didn't trust him until I saw what he was doing and actually he's a good person. Majestic 12 was one of the people who point out that he is, in fact, confirmed a good guy. So
why do you believe this Majestic 12 account, by the way? Because I looked into it, and their Telegram, last I checked it, it's probably bigger than that by now, but only had like 9,000 something followers. They're not even a big presence on Telegram, like Ghost Ezra, who I know you don't trust, has over 300,000, and this account only has like 9,000. Right. So why do you trust this Majestic 12 account, and why do you think they're the Men in Black?
Not Men in Black. The Men in Black are either humans or alien human hybrids that are in bodies.
Okay, so you think that there are multiple alien organizations. Majestic 12 is all aliens, and then Men in Black also exists, and it is humans and human alien hybrids.
When you find out over the next 5 years how many aliens we are alien hybrids. There's aliens living on
I am an alien hybrid.
The moon is an alien base. You're gonna find that out. Aliens are all over.
Are they in the moon? Are they inside the moon, like in the Death Star?
Oh my God! The moon is a spaceship.
The moon's a spaceship. Wow.
Listen, check this out. The moon, our satellite is the only satellite ever discovered that doesn't rotate like this.
That's actually untrue. I talked about this in one of the videos because I watched that video. You're talking about tidal locking, and there are other planet moons and stuff that are tidally locked, the same as the moon.
Interesting. Well, send me that. From what I heard, there isn't. And also, because of the moon being so big and it's so close to Earth, if it wasn't some spaceship, it would be dragged in reverse gravity.
No, because it's in orbit. It's in a stable orbit.
It's not in any stable orbit. It's being repelled because it's a spaceship.
It's no. No, it's not. Do you understand? When you're in orbit, what that means is you're basically at a trajectory that you're falling towards a planet constantly, but you're moving fast enough laterally that you're missing it every time.
Great explanation.
That's what the moon is doing.
Okay, great explanation. I agree with you, but if you look at other satellites, they're smaller and they're not as close as.
But the size is irrelevant as long as they can get enough velocity to continually miss the Earth, then they can orbit. Like, we're also orbiting the sun, and we're all bigger than satellites, you know?
Okay. Anyway, people can look this up. We can agree, disagree, but
we can agree to disagree that the moon is a Death Star. I agree.
The aliens are everywhere, and everywhere. I mean, honestly, if they're I wouldn't be surprised if they're abducting you. Because
what would they be abducting me for?
You know what? I think we're in a gigantic alien experiment, and they're testing us spiritually, genetically, to see if they do this, that, what's going to happen. You very well could be. I think the United States is a big experiment. You can call it the experiment of democracy, you know, the different states, but the whole country and the states are different experiments, and you're an experiment right now. So on some level, aliens are messing with you, trying to get you to do certain things or see if we do this or that, if what's going to happen to Hannah? Is she going to evolve spiritually? What's going to happen? The aliens are everywhere. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just ahead of my time. But to answer your question about Majestic 12, Majestic 12 had a Twitter account, which initially I joined when I had like 6,000 followers. It grew up to like 40,000 followers, which isn't much, but we got like 36 or 40 million views. Their content is so out there that they don't actually get a big following. For example, saying that they're interdimensional aliens, a lot of people would be like, what? See, I'm not believing that. But me, I'm like, oh, yeah, well, that's real. So, of course.
Why do you think interdimensional aliens are real?
Look, if you're abducted over and over again, you will start doing research on aliens and be like, what the heck is going on? Why am I being abducted? And then you'll find out.
Peter, I listened to, and by the way, I want to be clear. I think you watch my content when I cover you, and I hope when I covered your video when you were talking about your various abduction experiences, I feel for you on that, because even though I don't think you've actually been abducted, I recognize that the trauma and the feelings you feel about it are very real. So let me be clear about that first.
For sure.
I don't know if there are people in your life who are understanding about this, but I want you to know I am. Regardless of whether or not I think...
Appreciate it.
Regardless of whether or not I think it happened, I think you think it happened, and those experiences probably hurt you a lot and cause a lot of anxiety.
I appreciate it. That's why I like you, Hannah. That's why I like you. Have a heart. You have a heart.
Now, that being said, I do think you're having basically sleep paralysis, and I think that's what it is.
It could be. I'm 99% sure, but that could be. I've been wrong before. You yourself have proven me to be wrong before, so never know. But
what's by the way,
everywhere.
The claim that you had about your previous child with the skin band-aid thing?
Yes. I wish I took more pictures. Go ahead.
That's something called a sacral dimple. It's a known medical thing. So I would recommend you Google sacral dimple and check the conditions. Yeah, look right now and let me know if that's what it looked like. That way that might make you feel better knowing it wasn't an alien. It was
you know what? If that is really what it is, it would make me feel better, because I don't like the thought of thinking that my daughter was being messed with sacral dimple. I'll look that up. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not what it was. No. This is totally different. See, let me explain exactly what happened with my daughter. She was born, and at first glance, there was nothing. Then, over the course of 3 to 6 hours, this little, I call it skin band-aid, it looked like 3D printed skin that was pasted, slid off her back and off her, groin area near her leg, on her leg. It slid off and revealed a perfectly cut out circle.
Did you ask the doctors about this?
Yes, actually, they was examined by a doctor that was a skin professional. He's like, what the?
At a hospital, like a real licensed doctor.
Yes. And he wanted to do a bunch of experiments. I was like, hell no, I already know what this is. But he said he'd never seen it before. The doctor, the nutrition wife, said she'd never seen it before. I looked it up. It was literally a cut-out hole.
So you refused to give your child that was newborn health care that you could have endangered their life.
Well, my pediatrician was pissed at me. That's what she said. She's like, oh, you want to do this on your own? You're playing with fire. But I actually know a lot about health, so I'll be able to heal it by myself.
Did you put CBD oil on your baby?
I put a little bit of CBD medicine, and I did sunlight, and eventually closed up and healed. It was never infected. If it was seriously infected, I would have brought it to the hospital or taken it more seriously. But that's the weird thing. These things usually are red around them or infected. There's no such thing. You can look it up if your audience can. I've never, and I'm sure your audience never heard of anything ever where a person is born with 2 holes, perfectly cut out, not infected, baby's fully healthy, and you have printed your skin band-aids, little pieces of thin skin printed right over the hole.
This is all the more reason to listen to the doctor and get tests done. And this is what I don't get, because even if it was aliens, and I don't think it was, but even if it was, it's healing correctly.
Great question. In my opinion, if these were evil aliens, we would have been dead, or something really horrible would have happened. She would have been really hurt. So I think these were benevolent aliens who thought her maybe should be. So I think these were good aliens, and I wasn't afraid of that they were trying to harm her. I think it's just some skin samples, and they didn't want her to get infected, so they printed 3D skin and placed it over the band-aid.
So they do a skin band-aid, but it falls off after 6 hours.
Well, you want it to be on while the baby's inside, or else you can get infected, create problems. So once the baby's born, then it's okay for it to fall off because it's not in the amniotic fluid anymore. So it worked. It's just as needed to, in my opinion.
Can you look up spina bifida and let me know if it's that? Let me spell it for you. I'm trying to help you here, Peter. It's pronounced or spelled SPINA space IM. Okay.
I'm looking at it now. Again, that's not it. It was a tiny hole. Spinal bifida is actually looks like a big bomb or something like that. I researched for hours and hours and days. I never found anything even close to it. A tiny little hole, not infected, perfectly cut out, that had a skin band-aid over it. There's nothing like that. I showed a picture of it in the thing. I should have taken more pictures. I was sleep deprived and dumb at the time, but crazy. Anyway, let's just talk about something that your audience is a little more interested in.
Just real quick, I just gotta say, Claire, as much fun as I'm having, if anything like this happens again, please, for the love of God, take your child to the hospital. Just for me, just for your kid, okay? I'm serious. Like, that's medical neglect. You can't not get your kid looked at when they have health issues like that.
I understand. I think the medical industry, which is absolutely horrible, we pay more for healthcare than any other country. We have some of the worst healthcare. Not to mention, it's the number one reason for personal bankruptcy because our healthcare system sucks. Yeah. So these people brainwash you doctors. Oh, if you don't go to the doctor, you don't get to check out in neglect.
Okay, what it is. The doctors themselves are not the evil pharmaceutical company, whatever. Most doctors are people who, yes, want to make money, but they also are people who generally care about their patients, and you should listen to their advice.
I think that there's a lot of them that are bad, a lot of them are good, and most of them, 99% of them, that are brainwashed, thinking that pharmaceuticals can solve all these problems, et cetera, But I actually, health is one of my passions, something I'm very knowledgeable. I consider myself a health expert. So when health problems are on my children, I solve it myself. None of my children or my wife has ever gone to a hospital since the family started. We're all perfectly healthy and we get sick.
Never taken any of your children to the doctor for a checkup or anything? You've never taken any of your children to the doctor?
I initially would go to the pediatrician, but I was having horrible experiences. Like, one doctor was like attacking me for not getting vaccines, like yelling at me, and this other doctor, that's the last time I went. She was like, you don't take her to the skin doctor because of the sting. I get it. She doesn't want to be sued, and she was generally concerned about my daughter. She's not evil. But she was like, you're playing with fire, and she was calling me and emailing me. She was generally concerned, but in my mind, I was like, back off. I told her sometimes to back off. I'm going to heal it on my own. So after that, no pediatricians, nothing. I've just been doing it by myself. But my family's very healthy.
How do you know they're healthy if they haven't been to the doctor?
Yep.
Well, they get sick. The average child gets sick about 4 to 6 times a year. My children get sick twice a year. And other than that, they've had 0 health problems, which is crazy.
Did your wife, the recent birth, was that a home birth, or did you go to a home birth?
Correct. Yeah, that was a
home birth. That's
dangerous. Well, it is, and the way that it works is that if the midwives see any danger at all, then they send you to the hospital. But they actually said the opposite. They said he's extremely healthy, wife's doing extremely good, it was one of the easiest births they ever did, and everything went perfectly. Well, that's what happens when you're very healthy. Things go perfectly, you don't have health problems.
That's not really how things work. But okay, let's move on from all this stuff.
Yeah, let's move on to something more interesting. Any of my conspiracy theories you want to talk about? Do you want to hear why it's just Majestic 12?
Yeah, please.
Okay. They had a Twitter account that had 30, they mentioned had like 30 or 40,000 followers. I read all their tweets. There was like 13,150 of them. I've never done that for anyone. I've never read all their tweets before in order. But the information was extremely accurate, and a lot of it was stuff that I believe that no one else was saying. For example, they were saying that cannabis was going to cure a bunch of diseases, that it could, that it's the best medicine, that it cures cancer, and big officials like the Justice 12, they're like, I guess you could say, they're super credible. They're confirming what I've been saying for a long time that barely anyone confirms.
And so, because they're saying something, you are already predisposed to believe and you trust them.
On top of making a lot of predictions and putting a lot of information, like all the pineal gland information I got from them, how they're trying to calcify your pineal gland and how you should decalcify your pineal gland, how you can learn telepathy. They even pointed out a Twitter account that is currently managed by aliens. I think we talked about Sandia Wisdom. But anyway, I read all their tweets. Nothing ended up being wrong. And very accurate. A lot of it was stuff that I knew that very few people knew. They were able to predict the future.
What did they predict?
Well, like they said they were going to fly over on July 4th with their spaceship. And that's
I missed the news about a spaceship flying over on July 4th.
Well, you can't, with alien disclosure, you can't just fly over and scare the world and the stock market collapses. It has to be subtle. That's how alien disclosure is. So they actually showed pictures of weird lights in the skies, and then Trump retweeted this like 5 times. He said, wow, a lot of interesting people here, something like that. So it was 5 lights in the sky in a perfect line in one place and in another place. So it was an alien spaceship cloaked in visibility, but with lights on, which provides enough evidence to prove that there was in fact a flying invisible craft there. That's one exhibit proof of many.
What do you know in depth about the aliens, their own politics? Like on the aliens planet, do they have nation states, or are they like a one-world alien government per alien planet?
It's complicated. Everything you can think of exists. You have slave planets, which is what the Cabal Illuminati and the Democrats are helping them. We wanted to turn us to a slave planet. And then you have utopian planets, which is what Earth is currently becoming, a utopia. As long as we get rid of the deep state Illuminati, which is going to happen. So everything you can think of in between, all of it exists.
What do they use the slave planets for?
They treat us like cattle. They eat us, use us as sex slave, traffic us, trade us like a commodity. You know,
so aliens are really, really into humans sexually.
And eating us, you know, oh yeah. So yeah.
Why do they want to fuck humans?
90% of the aliens were right here actually genetically compatible enough with us that they could actually create babies with us. So
how would that work? Because like there's nothing on Earth that we can even do that with, and we share ancestry with things on this Earth. So how would that work with aliens?
When it comes to humanoid aliens, if their genetics are similar enough, which in many cases they are, because humans are mutts, I guess you could say, hybrids of like 100 different aliens. So we're actually very compatible. There's tons of different aliens out there.
Okay.
And we should be great babies with a bunch of them.
Yeah. How do you describe, when you say utopia, what do you mean by utopia?
Honestly, that's where we can get into socialism a little bit. I do think that there's a lot of utopia, as in there's no starvation, everyone gets some level of health care, basic health care. No one's dying on the street because they don't have health care or they don't have food. And then once that happens, once we really turn into a planet where no one is starving, everyone gets health care that they need, which some of that is socialism, which I agree with.
So why is Trump why does Trump rally against that stuff then? Like, why is the entirety of the MAGA movement against that and demonizes the idea of socialism?
Well, there's different levels, there's different types of socialism. Like, if Trump's against the socialism that's like Venezuela, which I'm against. But if you're talking about a different type of socialism, a different type of monetary system where no one is a debt slave, where things aren't set up so that we're always going to be in debt and we're going to be starving, there will be a new system put into place where only based on debt slavery, a new economic system in the next 2 years, where it's going to lift everyone out of poverty. And when that happens, we won't need a socialistic system where the government is like giving people food stamps and medicine. I don't know the specifics of it, but it will lift you out of poverty. A lot of, healthcare will be easily accessible, affordable. Maybe it'll be on a charity basis. He's against what Venezuela is, that level of crazy socialism. But if you talk about a little bit of welfare state, a little bit of, really high quality healthcare, if Bernie Sanders, which I like and dislike, if he wants to put in a healthcare system like Canada free healthcare, where you have to wait 3 weeks to get healthcare for a problem that you're dying of and you're gonna die next week of, that's not worth high taxes. That's not worth high taxes. But if you're gonna put in a high quality healthcare,
if you need emergency care, you will get it in Canada immediately. The idea that there are these long waiting lines for emergency issues is a lie that gets pushed by right wingers in the United States who want to stop socialized health care.
Well, if there's high quality health care, if everyone
I literally have someone in chat who says they're Canadian and that doesn't happen and they're laughing at you.
Alright, well, I've heard otherwise from other Canadians. The point is, if there's high quality health care that the government can give in an efficient way with little waste, I'm all for that and I'm pro that. But what we see time and time again with Canada and all these places with free health care, the quality is horrible. I actually made up a new healthcare system in one of my books, Cannabis Makes You, or the Cannabis is the Panacea. we're talking about a new healthcare system based on cannabis, where it would be extremely efficient, very cheap. Everyone would get little doses of cannabis. They would be in a lot better health because of it, and then they wouldn't have to spend so much money on medical bills and medical bankruptcy.
So we're gonna
click on it.
We're gonna have a plan where everyone's a little high all the time.
Well, with CBD, which is what I'm consuming now,
it doesn't get you high.
Very little high, or if the THC level is low enough, you wouldn't get high at all. Like, for example, did you know Trump legalized cannabis? Were you aware of that? In the Farm Bill, he legalized CBD hemp flowers, which
he did not federally legalize marijuana.
No, he doesn't need to, because the most marijuana is cannabis that has a lot of THC, and CBD flowers has low THC. You don't need high THC for healing. You just need a tiny bit in combination with CBD, and that's all you need for your medical needs. And so he legalized that. I can have 2 tons of...
Wouldn't it make more sense for him to just legalize the whole thing and direct the DEA to deschedule marijuana altogether?
You would think that, but after doing further research into it, high THC doesn't do brain damage to young people, but it does have some negative effect on their development, and they consume a lot of THC at a young age. And
I don't think you should be smoking weed until you're like 24, 25, period. Anyway.
There you go. He didn't want a scenario where everyone's growing high THC and a bunch of little kids are doing it and they're going to school very high, and he doesn't want that. He's supportive of medical cannabis, which is what he legalized. I can have guns and I can have 2 rounds of hemp CBD flowers, all legally without a medical card, and I can have it shipped to me. Thanks to Trump. Thank you, Trump.
Okay.
Biden didn't do that. Obama didn't do that. All Obama did was raided a bunch of dispensaries and attacked.
I agree. I disagree with the federal government's prohibition of marijuana. I think it's stupid. I think it's destroyed tons of people's lives. We're spending a ridiculous amount of money incarcerating people just for possession of a plant. I think it's dumb. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was very disappointed in Obama. I voted for Obama because he was, I'm going to leave the states alone, blah, 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 blah. But he didn't keep his promises, unlike Trump, which then he kept a lot of promises. And he's going to keep keeping his promises. But I have a question for you. If it turns out that Biden is some evil Satanist that's working with China to destroy United Republicans and Democrats. I'm not saying like Democrats are the evil ones. There's a lot of people on both sides of Democrats who are working with foreign governments. They're doing horrible stuff like committing treason. If they all go to jail, including Biden, Hillary, and then they all get executed legally. Trump comes in, saves the world, helps put in a utopia with the help of ET technology and aliens. Will that make you happy, or will you be disappointed because your side lost?
If all that happened, and what's the timetable for this? The next 2 years? Is that what you said? 10 years? Maybe for everything.
This year is about alien disclosure and putting Trump back as president. Okay. When it comes to the utopia, lifting people out of poverty, defeating the deep state, putting a new economic system in, that's going to happen over the next 10 or 15 years. I don't know the exact timeline, but utopia in 15 years, guaranteed utopia.
If all this happened, an alien disclosure happened, and alien technology finds its way to the people of Earth, and it creates a utopia, not only will I be happy, I'll fly you out to my house, and I will make you dinner, okay? I will we'll do a nice live stream where I go, Peter was right all along.
That's legally binding. That's legally binding. It's on video now.
Yeah.
And then, hold up. And you'll make videos saying how Peter was right and how you got a lot of stuff wrong, and he sounded crazy at the time, but he was just ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Sure. Okay.
So So Mike Lindell recently Mike Lindell said August. That was his. And now he's saying, well, maybe September or sometime in the fall. How do you feel about the fact that this date keeps getting pushed back further and further and further? Why do you think that is?
I'm very disappointed. I'm not sure what the strategy is here. If I were to guess, I would say a little bit is of feinting with the deep state. If you say you're going to do something at a certain time, and you're the good guys, and you don't, it's like, I'm going to punch a deep state, and then you don't, and then they react to the punch, they mess up, and then it's basically a feint, pretend you're going to punch or do something good, but you don't. As for the website, Frank's speech, I'm very disappointed in that. I'm not sure that was a feint, but I'm very disappointed I can't post there. But I think a lot of these timelines, something will happen on this date, and it doesn't, is to trip up the deep state, because as was taught in the 17 community, there's a disinformation war, and there's moves and counter moves. You want to trick the enemy because they follow you, they follow Majestic 12, and they try to say like, oh, this is the good guys' moves, all right, let's counter them. So as a result, the good guys like Majestic 12 and Q and Trump have to put out this information and trip up the deep state. So it's like traps. Like say we're going to do something at a certain point, and then nothing happens. That scrambles up or messes up the deep state plan. So as a result, I do think that at this point, I'm not so fully convinced that something's going to happen in August. I hope so. It could be moved further on. But here's one other prediction I'll make. As the audit results come out, the deep state is going to try to distract everyone, which means in the next 2 to 3 months, there will be a major false flag event that is going to take over the news so that when the audit result comes out, especially in Arizona, which is going to be August or September, it's not going to be covered. It's like, oh, look at the false flag. It's distractions. If the forensic audit, they're nothing. There's like they don't produce anything, or there's bait, or they did it bad, and people report it. They're like, hey, it's just bad. End of story. Everyone knows it's bad. End of story, except for some crazy people. But if it's true, if it's accurate, if it's real, and Trump did win by a landslide, they have to do a false flag to distract everyone. So that's something that's going to happen.
Well, what if the audit results come out and they're just like, yeah, we didn't find any evidence of any fraud?
I'm quitting YouTube.
You're quitting YouTube if that happens? Okay.
For sure.
Do you have a specific, like, is there any date out in the future that if things don't happen by, you're just going to give up?
Yeah. My hard line is that the Biden cares serves their full term. And I'm just going to go back to being brain broke. Trump is a liar. They're all liars. I don't trust anyone. But in 2 years, I'll have lost most of my faith. Trump did say that something has to happen this year. It's very important. That's why I believe that. And I've said that before him many times. Something's going to happen this year. Trump's going to come back this year. Something big's happening this year. And even after I said that, he came out and said, yep, something has to happen this year. Not like he watched my videos, but the fact is, because of the war, we're in the middle of World War III. And the good guys are doing so well that we barely see it. But because of World War III that we're in right now, Trump has to take back the government as quickly as possible to help save America, to save the world. If he doesn't, if he waits till next year, that's going to bring a lot of problems, and we might all be doomed.
I find it interesting that earlier this year you were claiming that Biden wasn't really in the White House. He's not the president. He's an actor. And seamlessly, you moved on to the rhetoric that Biden is the president, but Donald Trump is going to get back in office. How do you justify the fact that you completely changed the narrative on that?
Great question. Honestly, you have a great question, Hannah. Well, initially, after Biden was inaugurated, when it ended up happening, there were a lot of disinformation that came up, like Juana Slavin, Simon Park, Charlie Ward, all these people who were insiders. Oh, Trump's contacting me, Trump's talking, and this is going to happen. And Biden's not really president. And they were all liars. And I was basing my videos off them. And I actually apologized to my viewers. I'm like, guys, I trusted liars. I didn't vet them carefully, and I was wrong. And
so if you were wrong before about your sources, how do you know that you're not wrong about your current sources?
Majestic 12 is my favorite source, and he's the one I've vetted the most. Like I said, I spent 2 to 3 years, maybe like 2.5 years, reading all the tweets, everything Republicans ever said. I vetted him very carefully, and he's like my platinum source, my most valuable source.
So when you're vetting, are you just reading the tweets and going, yeah, I agree with that, and that's how you vet them?
No. It has, first of all, I have to read it. Actually, I didn't believe a lot of the stuff he said up front. But then I researched, is this correct? You know, he was saying the election was going to get stolen, they're going to do this, the coronavirus is going to, do this and this.
And where did you get a lot of research? Where were you researching? Where were you searching?
Let me see if I can come up with an example. Well, for example, the alien thing, I looked into it. He said, we're going to fly over like spaceships, and I was like, whoa, that's a big statement. Let's see if that's true. And then Trump is posting these pictures. I have a photo somewhere, or I didn't lose it, where it shows lights in the sky. And he's like, wow, a lot of people came to the July 4th date. That's one of the things I researched. But the pineal gland detoxification, he said if you do this, it'll detoxify your pineal gland. Researched it, it was accurate. He said that, they're going to steal the election, which they did. He said that, COVID is fake, and that...
Again, these are all untrue things, so you're just citing reasons not to trust them.
Look, I know I'm not going to convince your audience, but a lot of this truth is going to come out eventually. A lot of it, I think about half of what I'm saying is going to come out as true this year, and I think you're going to believe a lot of the stuff I'm saying now. I know I can't convince your audience, but eventually, credible sources, I'm not a credible source, but credible sources will come out, and I'm like, I know you're not credible. Credible sources will come out, credible enough evidence that even people like you will eventually believe a lot of the stuff I'm saying. So I'm okay to be the crazy person, you know. I was saying cannabis cured cancer for a long time, 10 years, over maybe 12 years, 11 years, and everyone got all crazy. Now, a large percentage of Americans believe it, a lot of people around the world believe it.
People recognize, and I recognize that like CBD and marijuana can be used for certain things. Pain, inflammation, I'm pretty sure certain kinds of seizures can be helped with medical marijuana or CBD. But it doesn't cure everything. It just has very specific medical uses, and it requires more research.
Yeah, right. I never say it cures everything. I specifically say it cures all of the people. Yeah, it's a big statement. I know. I'm one of the first people to say it, but then again, this was confirmed by Majestic Well, which is one of my credible sources. I was like, wow.
But see, that's serving this. Do you understand that you're using circular logic to justify the veracity of their claims? You're saying, well, they said this that I like about CBD, so they must be legitimate, and they're legitimate because they say the things I like about CBD.
They also predicted a lot of stuff, like what was going to happen with the election, what's going to happen with the pandemic.
But that's not good. That's not even a good prediction, because Trump had been already claiming that there was going to be election fraud like a year before the election because he's a big man baby who can't handle losing. I mean, he said the same thing in 2016. It's not a prediction. It's just seeing what Trump is saying and knowing the rhetoric is going to go.
Let me give you an example. Alzheimer's is a disease that, from what I understand, it just gets worse, progressively worse. But in my circumstances, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the talk. So when my mom got Alzheimer's and she was on to the point where they needed to like hire someone or put her in a home to take care of, I changed her diet, fed her a bunch of MCB flowers, and she hasn't been, I wouldn't say she's completely cured, but she's been there. She made a huge recovery. Now she's playing video games, she's reading, she's talking, socializing, a lot of stuff she didn't before. My sister, who's a nurse, that she didn't believe any of this stuff was going to happen. She saw my mom before, saw her after, and she admitted, like, holy moly, she's totally different. She's made a huge recovery. It must have been the diet, it must have been the cannabis. But she's a nurse, so she was skeptical. She's like, cannabis can't help mom. She can't do that. So it's one of those things like, if people are not going to believe it until they see it. For example, I didn't believe cannabis cured cancer until I found a tumor on my face, and I said, well, tumor is cancerous, and we put cannabis oil on it.
Why? How did you determine it was a tumor?
If you do enough research in cannabis, you can tell what is a cancer.
So you looked at a thing on your face and decided it was a tumor and smoked weed or put CBD on it and it went away.
I put cannabis oil, Rick-Simpson oil in it, and I shrinked it, made it disappear.
It wasn't a tumor, Peter.
Either way, I don't have like scientific evidence to prove it, but
yeah, that's kind of the important thing in terms of medical claims.
Well, the thing with the science and all that is science has been corrupted to the point where most scientific studies aren't even trustworthy anymore.
Why do you think that?
Well, just look at the medical industry. If scientific studies were reliable, we'd be using cannabis.
Again, circular logic. You've already come to your conclusion. You've said cannabis is a panacea, and anything that says that isn't the case is wrong because you've already decided that's true. You cannot start from a premise like that. It's not falsifiable.
Look, I did a lot of research before I made that statement. I'm friends with, do you know who Rick Simpson is? Rick Simpson oil? Does it ring a bell at all?
I mentioned him earlier, but I don't know.
You know, the cannabis industry, when it comes to concentrates, everyone was smoking, almost no one was making concentrate. He cured his own cancer, his own skin cancer. He went to the doctor. He said, cancer, we can't do anything for you. He went home. He heard on the radio that there was THC cannabis that cured cancer. He said, hell, I'm an engineer by trade. So he got the flower, extracted with alcohol, which I don't think almost anyone, if anyone, was doing at the time. Applied it to his tumors. He all shrunk. And then he proceeded to cure hundreds of people of many, many different types of diseases, including cancer, just with cannabis oil. Then he went to the doctor and said, hey, guess what? I cured all this skin cancer you said was going to kill me, that you can treat I cured with cannabis oil. And the reaction should have been like, holy moly, can you prove it? Can be evident? What did his doctor say? Get the fucking hell out of my office. Get out of here. Stop saying that. And everyone wanted him out.
And this story comes from Rick himself, I would assume.
He's famous.
So he told this story, and you believe it at face value that it happened exactly like that?
I do believe him. And he's a very trustworthy person.
Why?
He's trusted by tens of millions of people around the world.
Okay, so are a lot of people.
Look, a lot of people have come up and verified that what he's saying is true. Diabetes, I had arthritis, I had multiple sclerosis, cancer, this disease. I ate a bunch of cannabis oil between 60 to 200 grams, hopefully organic, usually organic. Over a short span of time, 3 to 6 months, and my diseases are gone. So
that happens with every sort of snake oil or faith healing program. There are always testimonials of people claiming they get better because they're excuse me, I'm sorry. Because there are either times that people do have sort of miraculous recoveries that just happen because things are random and very strange, and there are some who have placebo effect.
Well, that's the thing. The placebo effect is very strong, and in many cases, if not all, there is a placebo effect happening. For example, if you believe cannabis will cure your cancer, even if it doesn't, just believing in it will make you produce endocannabinoids, which will in fact cure a little bit of your cancer.
Okay, no.
You never know what the endocannabinoid system is. The endocannabinoid system is our healing system. It's our body produces medicine. In breast milk, there's these things called endocannabinoids, and that's what makes breast milk medicinal. When you exercise,
breast milk isn't medicinal.
It's medicinal. Right now, I'm using it, and my daughter has a little bit of an eye infection.
Did you say right now you're using it?
I'm using breast milk to cure my daughter's eye infection.
Are you putting breast milk in your daughter's eye?
Hell yeah. It worked on my other two daughters. My other two daughters had eye infections, just like my son does. Sorry, not my daughter. My son does. And the doctor pediatrician told put on this antibacterial, put on this ointment, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, breast milk medicinal. And they had bad infections, not like my son, but they had bad eye infections.
You're going to make it worse. You cannot put bodily fluids in people's eyes. It's not going to cure them. It's going to make them worse. Or at least just the
opportunity. Explain to me why they had both daughters had verified eye infections around their eye, just around their eye.
Who verified it? You don't take them to the doctor, Peter.
We didn't put, wait, hold on, let me finish. We didn't put any pharmaceuticals. All we did is squirt breast milk on them, and between 2 to 4 days, their eye infection was gone.
How do you know it was an eye infection? You don't take them to the doctor.
Listen, it was a verified real eye infection.
Who verified it? Who verified it?
The pediatrician. She said, this is
the eye infection. Taking them to the pediatrician.
My first two daughters, I did take to the pediatrician. They did have confirmed eye infection. I had a bad experience and I stopped taking them. But when I did take them to the pediatrician, which I did initially, they had eye infections. They recommended a pharmaceutical and antibiotic. I was against it. I put breast milk. It couldn't have been a placebo because they don't believe anything. They can't think. They can't talk. They don't know what we're saying. But placebo aside, it was a placebo. Both times it worked on their eye infection. It just turns out that my son with another eye infection, not as bad, putting breast milk on it, and it's going away. So it's not placebo. What is it? What is it, Honda? It's not placebo. How are these eye infections going away?
They're probably just going away. You've gotten very lucky that your child had to have their eye removed because you're putting bodily fluids in them.
I'm lucky. Look it up. Breast milk is very medicinal all around the world, especially in poor cultures. When people have eye infection, when babies have eye infection.
There's some cultures that drink urine for the same reason. That doesn't make it an actual medicine. Folk medicines aren't real necessarily.
Listen, breast milk does have medicine in it. People research it. I'm not going to be like, oh, this is my source. Instead of providing sources, I say people do your research. There are medicines in breast milk. It is medicinal. It's been used to cure.
Breast milk can be good for children because it can impart antibodies to them through the breast milk. But that's it. It is not a medicine.
I'm not saying it is a medicine. I said it contains medicines. I guess it contains medicine that way. But these medicines are called endocannabinoids. The same medicine that your body produces when you produce the placebo effect. By the way, when a pharmaceutical is being tested, they test it against a placebo because the placebo effect is very powerful. So if it passes the placebo, then let's say you're a pharmaceutical company, right? And you want to prove that your pharmaceutical works. What do? you test it against placebo. Why? Well, because the placebo actually has an effect. And so in some cases, what you have is they test it on a health problem. And they'll give some people placebo, some people the pharmaceutical. And if
it actually depends if it's for a medicine that already has a known medicine that does the same thing, they actually use that medicine in place of the placebo. But if it's a brand new medicine with no counterpart, then yes, they will use placebo.
The point is they do these studies, and what they find is that the people who are given placebos, they are healed. A lot of them are healed. And so all they have to do to get their pharmaceutical approved is somehow mess with the results that they usually do to make it look like their pharmaceutical had an even more powerful effect than the placebo.
Okay, so your term is that they're cheating the trials of the.
Oh, hell yeah.
You need to have evidence to make that claim.
It's all coming out. The government
is all coming out. But that's your answer to everything. The evidence is just around the corner, which is admitting tacitly that you have no evidence now.
Well,
you come to conclusions before the evidence, and you're accepting the evidence.
The evidence is coming out. Things are going to take time. The first thing that the big statement that I made, the election was stolen, the evidence is coming out right now. The forensic audit information is coming out. For example, Pennsylvania, more people voted in Pennsylvania. There were more votes in Pennsylvania than were ineligible voters. I think 200 to 300,000 more votes than there are eligible voters.
No,
election fraud. Maybe it was a Republicans cheating. All I know is that was election fraud, one way or another. There can't be more votes than there are eligible voters.
There weren't.
There were. It's going to come out. They're doing audits.
It's going to come out. Again, so it hasn't already? You're just making a claim?
So,
I know this. This is a fact.
What do you mean you know this? How do you know this?
It's so obvious.
No, it's not. It's not. Let me be clear. It's not.
the
To you, if you watch that, if you're being programmed, brainwashed, watch CNN. Oh, that's
I don't want to see it. I think the last time I watched CNN was like 2018.
Where do you get your news that you trust?
I read various sources on the internet, like the New York Times, AP. I look at One American News every now and again to see what they're doing. All sorts of sources. The Washington Post. I don't know. I read different sources from the internet.
I respect that. I'm glad that you do. But one of those statements, which is that Biden stole the election, it's already coming out. Think about the statement that Biden made. He said he literally said on TV, there's a clip of it, that he put together the biggest voter
fraud. Peter, why do you people always do this? If you watch the clip, he's talking about a voter fraud prevention team. It's a team to prevent voter fraud.
Why did he say prevention? That was a slip up.
Yes, people say weird shit. You slip up all the time.
Look, if I'm wrong, these forensic audits, by the way, the Democrats say, oh, well, there was already an audit in Arizona. Well, the problem with that audit is they just looked around. It looks pretty secure here. They have like 47,000 votes. Oh, it looks good.
That's how audits usually work, is they will look at a specific number of votes against records and determine whether or not it's a random sampling.
Yes, I understand those audits, but if you bring a case to court to say that there was fraud in an election, and you bring that evidence, which is this audit, oh, we looked around, counted a few votes, it looks good to me. What do you think? You're going to say, sorry, that's not credible evidence. You cannot bring that to court. But if you do a forensic audit, which they're doing in Arizona, now you can actually legally use that in court, and it's credible. So
that's not how anything works.
It sure does.
Also, why did Giuliani and Trump file 60-something lawsuits and lose all but one? If they thought there was evidence.
You're doing that for you, Hannah. This is why. You're trying to show everyone we're going through all legal avenues, and the Supreme Court's not taking it up now. First, he said there's election fraud with a bunch of evidence. Look at it. The Supreme Court and all these corrupt judges said, no. So now they're like, all right, we're going to get
But they didn't have evidence. They didn't have any. Giuliani himself, in front of a judge, said this is not a fraud case.
So they're going to have mountains of evidence. They're going to present it in front of the court. Likely the court is propaganda in the Supreme Court, or they're being threatened.
Wow, Trump really fucked up when we appointed them, because he appointed three of the justices.
Yeah, it's disappointing. But then again, these people could be blackmailed, threatened. Who knows what's going on? But the point is, I'm going to answer your question. You're going to show everyone, look, we had mountains of evidence. We did everything legally. We brought it to the court. We brought it to the Supreme Court. They did nothing, even though we have evidence. So then when we bring the military in, and Trump brought in the military immediately after inauguration, it's a coup. It's a dictatorship.
It would be a coup if he didn't know.
But if he proves to like 90% of Americans, including you, probably you, because you're a smart person, hey, there was fraud, he did steal, and what's going to end up happening? Oh wait, I can't hear you.
I was saying there wasn't. I was just mouthing it. Sorry.
Okay. Well, once he proves it, and the courts don't do anything, and even people like you believe, like, oh my God, there was fraud, Trump did win, Biden did cheat, then he brings in the military, and then there's going to be less people like you or people who don't believe
it. But that still wouldn't be how it would work. Peter, constitutionally, if that were to happen, which it wouldn't because that's not what happened, then Congress would have to impeach Biden and remove him from office, not have a military coup. The Constitution spells out how to deal with criminality.
It depends on what the criminality is.
Nowhere in the Constitution is it like, and if the criminality exceeds this bar, the military can come in and take over the government. That's not how it works.
If Biden cheated with the help of foreign people and did it in a treasonous way, and he's an enemy combatant, he's considered a terrorist, really under law.
That's not how it works. It wouldn't matter. He would still need to get put on trial in the House, or he would have to get, indicted by the House and then found guilty by the Senate and then removed. And then if Harris was also involved, then she would also be removed. And then the next in the chain of, why can't I think of the name? Chain of command. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi. Trump is nowhere in the chain of command. He's not in the government.
He's not, but it turns out that they stole elections in a coup with the help of foreign actors, terrorists. There is a legal process. Don't ask me what it is. I don't know what it is yet. But
you know because it doesn't exist.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? Anyway, unfortunately, I'm enjoying my talk with you a lot. I love talking to you. You're very smart and you're a great debater. But I do want to have like 15 more minutes. Okay. Do you want to still talk about this? Or
let me see what else I want to talk about. Okay. One of the times that... Actually, I'm going to go to the chat for this. Chat, do you have any questions that you specifically would like to ask Peter? Peter, I won't read any questions that are like, So chat, let me know what questions you have for Peter.
And I just want to be clear to everyone, if it's not clear, I really like Hannah. I like her show. I'm not offended at all by her videos about me. I think she's actually very respectful. And I don't see why some of your followers have to be so angry at me. I like your content. I like you. And honestly, this may sound crazy, but I really appreciate how you rip apart my videos. You're one of my favorite viewers because you're a big critic of mine. And you actually help my videos get better. You make me stronger. So I have nothing against Hannah. I really do appreciate her. Well, so no reason to attack me. I like Hannah.
Shed a tear when the military coup murders me and hangs me in the streets.
No, you're a good person, Hannah. They're not going to do that to you. Don't worry.
I'm one of the good ones.
You're going to join me in the utopia. We're all going to celebrate together.
Right. Someone just asks, why so much faith? Why do you have faith in the plan?
Trust the plan? Well, I've been programmed to, just like you've been programmed to believe other things. With this whole 17th situation, they provided a ton of evidence that certain things are going to happen. They're going to take back the government from the deep state cabal, from the puppets, from corruption, drain the swamp. And they provided enough evidence that a logical person like me, who's done a lot of research, can look at all of it and say, hey, you know what? I do trust the plan. Even when Trump wasn't inaugurated, I was one of the few, if not publicly, I might have been the only political commentator I'm aware of that after inauguration said, guys, don't worry, Trump's still going to come back. He'll still be president this year. I didn't know if anyone else was saying that. There wasn't like Simon Parks, a liar, disinformation agent. So I trust it because logically, I looked at all the evidence. I did a lot of research into it. It's something I'm passionate about, and all the evidence is there. And people find out that I can trust the plan because the plan's real and it's based on evidence, and it's all going to work out.
Field Waddell asks, where's World War III being fought right now?
Great question. Everywhere. Well, a lot of it's going in the United States. If you look at how the military is spread out, there's like, last time I checked, there's battleships on the East Coast and West Coast. We're in a World War situation we're in a situation where it's I'm not sure how it is with the military, but with the Space Force and Majestic 12, they're fighting the deep state and all their, cronies or evil people. And that is the World War III. Right now, the deep state, the Illuminati, is trying to kill billions of people. And Trump is saving the world, and he's doing it through that with the help of the Space Force and Majestic 12, these aliens, all this technology has, time travel technology. Trump commands the Space Force. Biden has no way to control it. The way that he set up his military branch, it couldn't just be handed off. Biden has no way to contact the Space Force, control the Space Force, command the Space Force. So the Space Force and Majestic 12 are working to save the world right now from which is, people think World War III, they watching movies like World War III is nuclear bombs everywhere. World War III is doing things in a way that if you're a cabal, you don't want to do a nuclear bomb in World War III because all your resources you want are destroyed. What you want to do is a pandemic and vaccines to depopulate the people so that only people die. It's a different type of World War III. They're attacking biologically with weapons, pandemic vaccines. Because then you kill the people and take their resources and you don't have to drop nuclear bombs.
And society completely collapses because 9/10 of the people on the earth are dead and nothing can function anymore.
Yeah, the World War III is being done through information, a little bit firepower stuff behind the scenes that we're not aware about, but a lot of it is they're trying to kill billions of people right now. Trump's saving the world, and it'll all be released in the next 2 years. You're going to believe me, man. Sure, we're going to become good friends. Let's go.
Alamet says, how do you get into conspiracy?
Oi. Isso. Sim. Tu já sabes o que é que cabe no carro? Eu tenho as medidas da porta. A porta tem 2,23 metros de comprimento, aliás, 2,23 metros de altura por 1,15 de largura. Tu disseste que essa placa era de quantos? 2,20? Sim, 2,20, 2,23. Não, a questão é, se a placa é de 2 metros, vamos precisar sempre de duas. Depois pode ser cortado. Se cabe. Eu acho é que eles não te cortam lá. Se te cortarem ao meio, é na pura que depois montas, percebes? Depois aproveitas os cabos. Sim, é o mais fácil. Cortarem ao meio é o mais fácil para os ajustar. Eu não sei se são sozinhos. Muitas vezes, sim. Vais sozinho. É assim, na verdade, tu para cortares para o lado, normalmente nem a máquina, cortas com o x-ato e dobras ao meio e aquilo racha. Mas eu não sei se eles cortam. Percebes? Eu não sei se eles têm lá um serroto ou isso, mas normalmente o que se faz no poder é, se tu fizeres num lado, aquilo é o cartão é que segura aquilo tudo preso, né? Se tu fizeres um corte direito num lado do cartão, quase que podes dobrar a placa a seguir, tipo livro, estás a ver? Tipo foi aplicado. Só que, não, e para o tamanho desse era mais fácil com duas pessoas, sim. Mas também podes comprar, pelo preço, não fica muito mais caro. Comprar duas de 2 metros por 1,20. E eu corto os bocados precisos e junto. Duas chegam e sobra, percebes? Uma é que não chega. As duas chegam e sobra. É muito fácil. Não porque eu vou disfarçar, o que eu vou fazer? Eu vou fazer um truque, que é, depois está tudo preso e posto no sítio e tudo mais, eu vou tirar todo o cartão de um lado para ficar aquela textura rugosa e pintar para parecer que é a continuação da parede. A nossa parede é rugosa, não é lisa. Se eles gostarem, pronto, mas também podes fazer duas de 1,20 por 2. Pode, a Almada é Lisboa. A Almada não é um conselho da área metropolitana de Lisboa, peraí. Deixa-me. Depois pode não ser Almada, sim, isso já é capaz de ser fora da área metropolitana, ou seja... Espera aí, olha lá, estou a ler na net. Almada é uma cidade portuguesa pertencente ao distrito de Setúbal e à área metropolitana de Lisboa. Isso podes ir à vontade. Isso é dentro da área metropolitana. Não, não está. Eu fui esse no domingo passado e vou este domingo. Isso é tudo a área metropolitana de Lisboa. A área metropolitana de Lisboa, Rui Margem Sul. Parte. Vão para os amigos, por exemplo, aqui, quando nós estávamos a sair da Alberta, eles estavam a controlar quem é que ia para Vila Franca. Por causa da autoestrada. Vila Franca é o limite. Almada é o limite. Eles só estão a ver quem é que sai da Almada para o Algarve. É isso que eles controlam. Dá. Vai, tá. Eu acho que eles não te cortam e, portanto, compra duas placas de 1,20 m por 2. Para o chão de barro. O problema é que tu tens só catifa vermelha e cinzenta e vais comprar outra cor. Ok, tu queres que eu te diga a área daquilo? Por exemplo, aquilo tem 70 metros. Espera aí, aquilo. Ok, aquilo tem o espaço de chão tem 70 metros por 70 metros quadrados à volta, porque isso era espaço que íamos tapar com cimento. Portanto, se tens uma faixa vermelha, mas se vais tapar a parte do bar e tudo mais, eu acho que 70 metros quadrados é ideal, porque assim não se tem que estar vestido. É vermelho. Mas vais comprar igual? Consegues comprar igual? Ok. Então, para o meio, se for só uma tira, aquilo ao nível de profundidade deve ter uns 8 metros. Portanto, é 8 por... E a largura das alcatifas vai ter 2 metros e pouco. Portanto, estamos a falar de 16 metros quadrados. Porque da porta ao bar é para uns 8 metros. Que é mais ou menos quadrados de espaço. Se comprares só uma tira, compra 8 metros. A que horas é que vais? À tarde? Ok. O quê? Não, pois não viste. Certo, ok. Sim, opa, eu às 11 tenho por. Eu tenho treino do cão às 10, mas a partir daí estou a ver. Tchau.
What was your first conspiracy that you looked at?
I think I was like 12 years old. My sister was like, "Hey, there's a Illuminati and these people are evil, like George Bush and all that, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Wow!" And I looked into it. I was like, "Oh my God, there's a satanic, pedophile cult where they're like killing babies and sacrificing them all off and all this stuff." And it seemed like it was in my head. I don't read something and say, "Oh, that's true, 100% chance." I read it, I'm like, "Oh, that's 60." I think a 60% chance it's real. Then I get worried, and I'm like, "Oh." And when if it doesn't go with something out, they're like, "Yes, there's a deep state, there's a Illuminati, there's a well, that's doing all these things." You're not, "Oh, 100% chance this is real." So that's something different. If it started out with believing in the Illuminati, which a lot of people are rightly believe deep state Illuminati thanks to Trump.
Do aliens have exorcisms? Since I guess demons also exist.
Anything you can imagine exists. Demons are real. A lot of demons are actually interdimensional aliens who are leeching off you, infecting you, trying to manipulate your mind. So I imagine there's interdimensional aliens, aka demons, who are infecting people all over the universe, and then there's religious organizations on some other planets exercising those demons out. I'm sure anything you can think of probably exists out there.
Did aliens create us or God? And I guess a bigger question: since you're Christian, how does the Christian God fit into this whole universe with aliens and all multiple dimensions?
That's rare because when people believe in aliens, they go to their religion and they say, "Well, you didn't tell me aliens exist, so you're probably lying about God. You're an atheist." Blah 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 blah. That happened to me. I was like, "Well, my church is not talking about aliens. There's stuff to say about God is real. We can atheist." But when I went and looked at it further, most aliens believe in a God of sorts. Not like a being up there judges people and sends people to heaven or hell, but they believe in a all-knowing source of intelligence or something like that. And so if they believe in a form of God, then it makes sense that I would too. That's the ultimate evidence God exists. When super intelligent human beings are like, yeah, God exists. Kind of. He's an all-knowing being. He's not like a guy in a cloud sending people heaven and hell. It's not like that. But go ahead.
What are you going to do if none of what you're saying comes true and it all turns out to be fake, like in 2 years, 4 years?
I'll be humiliated. I'll find under a rock. I'll apologize first. I'll say sorry. I'm so wrong, and then I'll make videos saying Hannah is right. Follow Hannah. She was ahead of the game. I'm so dumb.
Someone,
you're gonna do that for me, right?
Sure. Someone asks, and I assume this is because you talked about the alien sex slave thing. What do alien genitals look like? Do they have like penises and vaginas, or do they have like weird alien genitals that happen to be compatible with humans?
Most aliens, I'm talking about 80%, so identical to humans that they live among us and they breed with us. You can't even tell if they're alien. For example, Elon Musk, an alien. Is he having babies with humans? Yes. Genetically compatible. Does he look like an alien? No. If you get a whole bunch of aliens...
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed that. Did you just say Elon Musk is an alien?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You think Elon Musk is an alien?
I know he is. I don't think he is. I know he is.
Why I wish this had come up earlier in the stream. Why do you think Elon Musk is an alien?
Well, Joe Rogan was asking him, how is it you're so smart, you accomplish so much? I mean, he's the second richest, but not the first richest. You don't know what his full wealth is because he has cryptocurrencies.
It depends on the value of Tesla from day to day.
And also, he has a lot of cryptocurrencies that are hiding somewhere. Dogecoin. I think he's the richest person on earth. Joe Rogan asked him in 20 different ways, how is it you accomplish this? You know, you're creating a electric car industry and company. You're doing all these things in the hardest industries, and somehow you're the richest or second richest person. How did you do it? He asked him over and over again. And first, Elon Musk was slow. He's like, well, there's probably some genetic thing going on, and he's kind of smart. And in the end, he's like, Rogan's like, look, just tell me, how did you accomplish everything? And he says, I'm an alien. Go watch it. He said, I'm an alien.
Yeah, and
at first I was like,
that's a joke.
That's a joke. That's a joke. But the thing with disclosure with aliens, it always happens at a joke level. For people like you who don't believe in aliens, are like, that's a joke. For people like me, I'm like, was he serious? And then we just quote from Kirby. Like, yeah, Elon Musk is an alien.
I actually have someone in my chat who I've talked to multiple times about this. They worked for Tesla and they worked with Elon Musk. They say, I work for Elon Musk. I met him. He's a dumb fuck. I did all the work. You can just ask a dumb question the entire time, which I've heard from other people as well.
It's easy to say someone's dumb, but the fact is, the richest person in the world couldn't be dumb.
Why?
What?
Capitalism doesn't necessarily reward for very smart.
You'd be dumb if you were dumb. Hold on, Hannah. If you were dumb, how could you create the first successful electric car company?
He didn't. He sued to be put on the founders list. He didn't found that company.
He's creating the first electric car company. He's going into creating a new internet. Many people are trying to create a satellite internet, a very successful one. No one's been super successful at it.
He hasn't been successful at Starlink yet. It's not even
starting yet. The thing is, he's going into the hardest industries, satellite internet, Neuralink, electric cars, and he's actually using that to become the richest person on earth. What type of intelligence do you need to have to go into some of the hardest industries, rocket science, electric cars in the world, and you're so successful at them that you become the richest person on earth? I mean, I still believe that he's dumb. Even Joe Rogan's like, this guy is super genius.
Joe Rogan's dumb too.
Are you smarter than Elon Musk?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think you're very smart, but come on, he's a genius.
I think he's a genius.
How could you become the richest person in the world and seeing it done? Come on, let's be logical.
His parents own an emerald mine in South Africa. He started on third base. If you are born wealthy, life is easy for you. You're very lucky too when he sold his company to PayPal and that got him even more money.
We're going to agree to disagree, but I think a lot of your viewers will agree he is very, very smart.
My audience hates Elon Musk just like I do.
I'd love to chat with you again at some point in the future because I do like your debates and I like you. I think you're very smart. But do you have any more questions before I have to go?
just emotionally? You doing good with the new baby and everything? You feeling good?
I'm doing good, but I'm a little disappointed I haven't been able to create a lot of videos, and with YouTube being shut down, at my peak I was making I made $10,000 a month on my YouTube channel 1 month, and I was like, dang, real money in this, and now I've made like $50 this month, so I'm like, oh man. So now I'm like fixing my business up, how to make YouTube friendly content thanks to my speech not working. Damn you, Rick Liddell. But and then there's a Trump social media network, not out yet either. And BitChute and Rumble's not letting me upload videos. There's like error. So now I'm stressed about that, but I'm happy to have his help. And honestly, I'm really glad I spent my time talking to you, man. I enjoy talking to you.
Say very interesting.
I'm sure you do.
I look forward to your
Deixa-me lá pôr, fiz aqui. Deixa-me lá pôr.
For sure. All right, thanks for having me on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm ready.
Great. Well, I like your videos, and I'm looking forward to your videos as well. And we have to do this more often because I think it's going to change as you start believing what I'm saying and all this stuff comes out. Like, I said electric car now, but audit evidence is coming out agreeing with me. So as more evidence comes out that I'm right, it'll be interesting talking to you and see you admitting that, oh wait, you're